Blizzard has announced their newest expansion, World of Warcraft Legion. This continuation of the epic MMO saga has taken hype levels to all new highs. But even with new features, activities, and revamps, is there also cause for concern? Here are 10 reasons why I'm worried about World of Warcraft Legion. Number 1. Artifact Weapons. This new system allows each class specialization to obtain an iconic weapon that can be upgraded and customized when players accomplish tasks like killing other players or completing zone exploration. However, the thought of every Retribution Paladin wielding Ashbringer and every Enhancement Shaman swinging Doomhammer makes me wonder just how unique this system will ultimately prove to be. Beyond that, the talent system attached to it has the great potential for creating cookie-cutter builds that will culminate in everyone doing the exact same thing. Number 2. The Eye of Azshara Dungeon. Once upon a time, there was a rumor that the next WoW expansion was to be called Eye of Azshara. The main villain would be Azshara, the cursed, immortal leader of the Naga. Instead, we're going to get a 5-man dungeon called Eye of Azshara, in which we'll face her minions. It seems like a disservice to have Azshara, such a huge piece of Warcraft lore. She essentially started the War of the Ancients 10,000 years ago, represented in name only. I was really hoping for more. Number 3. Dungeon and Raid Exhaustion. Blizzard wants dungeons to be a bigger part of the continuing endgame during Legion. I applaud them for having announced 10 dungeons. A few of them will open up as we level, and the rest will be a part of the max level experience. But with no new dungeons released during the expansion, and Blizzard wanting us to play them over and over, those 10 dungeons are going to be very stale within a few months. However, I'm even more concerned about raid content. Here's a clip from the Blizzard announcement video.
Raids, we're actually pretty happy with how the overall structure in Warlords of Draenor played out. We had, a high mall initially with 7 bosses that opened up a few weeks after the release of the expansion, and then sometime after that, Blackrock Foundry with 10 bosses. So we're keeping that overall structure. We think that's a good amount of raid content, and that's kind of what we're aiming for, and that's what we want to deliver in Legion.
Frankly, 2 raids is not enough for an entire expansion. With 1 raid available at launch, and then another available a few months down the road, it could mean nearly a year with no new endgame content for the raiding community. I hope that they will give this decision some thought and decide to include additional raid content down the road. Number 4. 2 guys, 1 crypt. Gul'dan is dead. Gul'dan died during a flashback in Warcraft 3, when he attempted to get the Eye of Sargeras from the Broken Isles and consume its power. Gul'dan is so completely effing dead that Illidan absorbed the residual soul energy from Gul'dan's skull. Here he is, holding Gul'dan's skull in the Burning Crusade cinematic. To get around this, Blizzard had Archimonde throw the Warlords of Draenor Gul'dan into a portal at the end of the Hellfire Citadel raid. That portal has sent him back to the original timeline, where Gul'dan went to the Broken Isles in search of Illidan's corpse, instead of the Eye of Sargeras as the original Gul'dan did. Illidan is also extremely effing dead. I took my paladin back to the Black Temple just to make sure that Illidan does die and that I didn't forget about some shenanigans. Yeah, I'd say he's pretty effing dead. So, just to recap. Illidan absorbed Gul'dan's soul from his skull before Illidan died, but Illidan's body has been preserved and he has now been resurrected by an alternate timeline version of Gul'dan who didn't die in search of the Eye of Sargeras, because he instead came to the Broken Isles in search of Illidan's corpse. Even for a fantasy game, this is difficult to accept. Number 5. Class Order Halls. The initial idea of these order halls is to give a large focus on class identity. I like that. However, every single player will be referred to as the class leader. This type of view works perfectly in a single-player game, but in an MMO like WoW, it doesn't sit right. Every single paladin on Azeroth can't be the leader of the entire paladin class. A shared space for the class to gather is an awesome idea, and I hope these hubs stick around beyond Legion. But I'd prefer to see some player interaction. Maybe all the class members could come together and vote once a week on class buffs or talent availability. I want these order halls to give us more dynamic choices in the future and move away from a solo-focused philosophy. Number 6. The last time we introduced a new hero class, things got messy. Death Knights, just after their release, were almost universally seen as overpowered. They tore through battlegrounds and arenas, and their unique talent structure allowed them to tank with all 3 specs. Cataclysm changed a lot for the Death Knight, making Blood the only tanking spec, and the other 2 specs purely DPS. It's obvious that Demon Hunter having only 2 specializations is aimed at preventing the same thing from happening again. Blizzard's experiment with Death Knights proved to be far too much to handle. Hopefully Demon Hunters will be balanced equally with other classes. Number 7. Dalaran. Look, everyone loved Dalaran, myself included, but having it as the major city hub for Legion feels more like a nostalgia move than anything else. Sure, I'm excited to go back to Dalaran, but I would have preferred a new city. I hope that this will be a chance to give Dalaran a shiny new coat of paint and some additional functionality. Number 8. The Emerald Nightmare. Yes, the Emerald Nightmare seems like a fun raid, but there is so much incredible potential in the Emerald Dream that this is only going to further fuel the fire for an Emerald Dream expansion. I really think we need a full expansion dedicated to the Emerald Dream and the legacy of the Druids. It's a huge part of lore that simply hasn't been well addressed in World of Warcraft to date. Number 9. The Continued Grind. Let's be honest. Large parts of Warlords turned into a major grind. Apexis quests, with their fill bars, were just a different way of doing the same old thing. Instead of being told, kill 50 orcs in Tanan Jungle, we instead had to accomplish tasks in different areas, usually involving killing a bunch of orcs, in order to fill a bar and complete the quest. This type of mindlessness is detrimental to long-term gameplay. It's boring and tedious. Kill this, click that, fill the bar, done. Let's hope that Legion moves away from this type of quest completion and onto something more interesting. Number 10. Trust issues. Frankly, Blizzard, I'm just not sure I trust you anymore. It feels more and more like Blizzard is repackaging old content instead of releasing new content, and that's a distinct difference. Within a year of release, Warlords received its final content patch, and the long wait began for the next expansion. Yet, we've been told several times that Blizzard wanted to shorten the time between content releases. This hasn't happened. Instead, players stare at a long abyss of grinding away on current content and waiting for promises yet to come. What worries you about the next WoW expansion? Leave me a comment and let me know, and make sure to subscribe for more on World of Warcraft Legion.